Alright, so if you ever happen to be out here and you're looking for food, this is what you want to look for to find squirrel. Oh, there he is. Like I just said, you can find squirrels because what they do is they go up there, eat the pine cones or whatever the fuck, and they always like to do it in the same spot. So what you end up with is these little piles. There's that little guy. You can see him. Can you see him? Let's see if I can find him. Okay. So let's talk about the first important thing if you're gonna make a fire up here. That's location. While I'm cooling off, because I kind of accidentally overdressed for today. It's a lot warmer than I expected out. So let's just start with the basics. Where do you want to set up your fire? I'm not going to bore you with that. You're not idiots. I'm just going to give you a few tips. What you want is an area, especially when it's snowing like this, where you're not punching through the snow. That means it's probably pretty shallow, as opposed to this stuff. If I try to walk over it, actually, I'm not punching through it too hard. There might be something under this then. Or over there, let's check that out. This might actually be a better spot because I got a fallen log. It's hard to be a beggar and a chooser. But you just kind of gotta get what you can get sometimes. Right now, what I need is a surf that I can actually work on. That log is really perfect. The hard part is I have to basically clear all of this snow now if I want to do that. And it looks like that's what's going to happen. Okay, so I guess our first tool we're going to really need is a big pair of gloves. You can go really crazy with gloves. They can get hundreds and hundreds of dollars for real Arctic grade mittens. These are just Milsurp Arctic gloves from the Army. I mean, I'm also trying to show you this is not an expensive hobby to get into. It's about as expensive as you're going to make it, basically. So I'm running a really weird mix of extremely expensive shit and extremely cheap shit. Like those mittens are probably about 20 bucks, but this knife probably about $500. That's just a splurge item. You really don't need a knife like that at all. I also have a nice little woods hatchet. This is about 50 bucks. That saw, I forget how much those are, about 30 bucks on Amazon. It's a Sven saw. That coat there is probably a $20 Swedish Army surplus. So what I'm trying to tell you is put together the gear you think will work. And I think that these mittens are going to work really good. They're leather, so they're going to be able to take the wear of this frozen, iced up fucking snow. So that's going to really wear them down, but I need to do it. Okay, is that recording? Is that good? I have a really ghetto computer camera set up here. Fucking shit burgers. You would not believe how ghetto I have that thing set up. I don't even know if you can see me right now. Anyway, so the snow is pretty iced up, so you just want to take the hammer or the pole side of your axe or whatever you got, just break it up. Yep, that's pretty. You can, if you don't have mittens, if you absolutely have to do this without mittens, it is possible to sort of just kind of step back and forth and pack this down. It takes forever, so I don't recommend doing that. Just come out here prepared. Alright, once you're done clearing that stuff out, clear the ice off of the tree trunk. Also, another thing you'll see down here, that is a little bump. That's where my ass would have been. It would have been super fucking uncomfortable. You want a comfortable work surface because you're going to be working here for a while. So, comfort, not that big a deal in the woods, but you want to do it all you can. to chop that burr off, I didn't film it, I should have. I use this thing. Now, I can't stress enough the importance of sharpening and polishing your fucking cutting tools. It makes a world of difference. It can make a task so easy. And if you guys are interested, I can do a sort of separate video on sharpening axes and stuff like that. Cheaply too. It doesn't have to be expensive. I think we got a dog. Heard something. Oh well. Alright, we got our camp all set up. Now we have a good work surface. We have a good place to put the fire. You don't get it this clear even. I mean, the way I'm going to show you, it's going to be a lot, you don't need to get it this clear, but, you know. Now, step 2 is the fun part. Now we actually start making shit. So, look around. See where you got easy wood. I can see that tree there is dead and standing. I could cut that down if I wanted. That tree right there it's a little much. I don't think I need that whole thing. That tree right there would be excellent. Dead and standing is the key words here. I also have birch to choose from, but I'm not really equipped to take trees down that far. If you can get a birch, actually, those birch might still be a little big. And also, I can't tell if they're dead or not, if they're deciduous. If you want a really good, long-lasting fire, it's gonna keep you warm through the night, I would advise staying away from. Shit! What's not through the snow here? I would advise staying away from these kinds of coniferous trees. They're just softwoods, is what we call them in general, and or hardwoods. Hardwoods burn a lot longer and a lot warmer. So if you need to go to sleep, you can leave the logs on and they'll keep you warm. We're not going to worry about that today. I'm just going to try and make a cup of tea, although even that might be a bit difficult, and show you guys the basics of what I'm trying to do out here. Okay, so this is the Sven saw. There's all sorts of different models. I'm not really partial to any of them. This one is just kind of one I bought and forgot about, and it just works good enough for me, so I'm going to show you how to use this particular model. A lot of other ones are... This is going to suck to do with one hand, I'll tell you that much. Fuck. Okay. There's other saws that are pretty popular, like silky saws, that just fold out. They're a lot easier to use, honestly, than this thing. But for some fucking reason, I've stuck with it. Even though it has a small nut that constantly almost gets lost in the snow. And it's kind of a convoluted design. It's even weirder when you're doing it with one hand. So you want to kind of knock the snow off of that. Take this out, and then it's like a saw flip blade. And I don't know how I'm going to do this with one hand. Let's see if I can just kind of stand this up somewhere. Super ghetto, but whatever. It works. So it's just a neat design. What you got here is a little slot here for this to go through. I don't even know if I'm boring you guys with this. I don't know. Give me feedback. What kind of details are we looking for? Just a basic abstract? So you thread it through both holes and then get that nut back out. You screw it back in here. Easy. It's warm enough that I don't think I'm going to need gloves. So that is going to help. And let's chop down a tree. I'm going to try and film that next. Alright, so I don't know how well this is going to actually film, because I really do need both hands to do this. But we're choosing this tree because, well, it's standing and dead and it's close by, really. You can tell it's beetle killed. Tell it's beetle killed because of the color of the bark. I don't know if you guys can see that. So basically just... see shit. God damn it. Just get yourself a nice little clear cutting surface on the base. Fuck, I don't even know if I need to tell you that. You're not stupid. I mean, I don't know. So that's secured. Now comes the fun part. I have to fucking put it at a weird angle so it actually shows up on film. Uh-oh. Binding up here. I might have to push it a little. There we go. Oh, fuck. I didn't film any of that, I don't think. God damn it. Well, I hope you guys saw that. Now, I'm just going to go through and figure out how much of this we need. Fucking A. Now, estimating how much wood you're going to need for any given task is kind of an art. It's something I don't really do very well myself even. So, I'm just going to kind of guess randomly with no real reason for it. Yeah, this knife is not... It's a chopper, but it sure isn't my other knife. My other knife is way better at this shit. Okay, so we got our length kind of cut out here. Not a very clean cut, but it'll do the trick. Alright, so the first instructions really I'm going to give are you want to measure out 2 lengths of wood that are a lot longer, probably about this long, and I'll show you what to do with those. So what you want to do is try and get your axe right dead center in the bullseye in the wood, because that's going to produce 2 of the most even cuts. If you try and go off to the side, it'll slide off to the side and you'll end up with a sliver. I just like to use 1 log as a beating log to just pound it in there. And the rest, just gotta kind of figure out if you actually need. Yeah, you need a little more sometimes. Sometimes you just gotta beat it in a little more before it'll take. Nope. And this sucks because I don't really have a good beating log. This isn't a very good one. Now, these are the hardest ones to split because... Uh-oh, my handle came loose. It's a tomahawk, it's no big deal. These are the hardest ones to split because... For Christ's sake. The longer the piece of wood, the way harder it's going to be to split. This is always true. And this spruce tends to kind of grow in a little twist, which can make it extremely difficult sometimes. Let's see if this is going. Now, it should be in enough to kind of... It's tricky to do, and it's like this. Tomahawk, not recommended. Fucking A. Look at the shenanigans I gotta deal with here. Alright, so, yeah, tomahawk, not recommended. It's not really meant for this shit. And I should have learned my lesson. I actually should have brought out one of my real, legitimate woodworking axes here. Just goes to show you, even if you think you know what you're doing, you can still fuck up. have to just go get a better beating log because this one is spiky. Sucks to go get a grip on it. Okay, so when you run into this real often, it's good to just go over to the log you chopped off. So what you want to do is come over to the tree, find a section where you can get a good, nice firm grip. It's going to be way less stress on your wrist if you can just get a great handle. Little bumps like that can be chopped off. And then that's that. This knife, man, I don't want to shit on it. It's this interesting psychological thing because, you know, you spend $500 fucking dollars on something, get it custom ordered from a master knife maker, and a custom steel, and you end up not even liking it as much as, well, I shouldn't say a cheaper knife, but another knife I'll show you guys later. So, now that you have your beating stick, you're still gonna just take a few extra seconds to get it comfortable. It'll make a world of difference. Just debark it, go around. Try and get these bumps off of it, they're not really ideal. This one especially is fucked up. Alright, let's take the axe to it then. The axe is great. This kind of work. Again, it doesn't need to be pretty. Really all you need to do is clear off the surface that you're holding, just for the sake of getting a sure grip on the fucking thing. Now, let's get back to you. Now, there's other factors I didn't quite realize, I guess, and I should point them out when you're gonna chop a log like this. So you see these little branches and shit sticking out? Those form little knots in the wood, and they're little tangles in the wood grain that kind of don't want to split, and they can make it extremely fucking difficult to get through. In fact, I might not even be able to do this with the axe. I might have to use the knife. Believe it or not, the knife might be better at this. We'll give it another try here. I'm sure the axe is going to be fine when we get to the other sections. It's just these two particular sections of wood, notoriously difficult to get going. You really have to wail on it with certain knives and axes to really just get it in there. It's tedious. That's the way it is. It might be in enough to kind of pound it, even though. Another important thing I should point out that I'm noticing here is this angle I cut it at. It's easy to do and fuck up, but once you fuck up, you're fucked up. It's at an angle, so every time I'm pounding it, it's trying to slide off. And of course, it doesn't help that the log is icy too. These are all just things. Yeah, just kind of gotta expect it. I mean, there's really little you can do about it. I should have brought out my better axe, honest to God. Oh, that's what happens. I might have to actually use the knife. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so that beating stick broke. gotta make a new one. We're switching over to the knife too. And let me show you why. I'm pretty sure this will work a lot better. I don't really want to beat on this knife because, you know, it's really nice, and I have no doubt the steel is impeccable. I mean, it's CPM 4V. You see, it's gotten right through there. It's not fucking around like that axe is. So, well, it's not that great of a chopper per se, because it's actually kind of light. Well, this is knife talk. Let's focus on the fire. But you saw that in just a few beats I was through. No fucking around, you know what I mean? So you want pair one. Alright, we're done with the most tedious part, and the hardest part is getting that base laid out. Those are the two longest pieces. They're going to take the longest to beat. And they sure were. I went through 2.5 beating sticks trying to get that through. And also, it just goes to show you, you know, an axe versus a knife, it's not always a sure thing which one's going to be the better tool. So it's worth it to bring both. Now I'm going to show you, you know, the rest of this is pretty fucking simple. And I wanted to make a special tip about this. Now this I just sawed off from the bottom of the log, but you'll notice it has this kind of bulbous section here. This is knotted wood. It's going to suck to try and chop through that whole thing. So what we're going to do is knock out two birds with one stone, because you need to do this anyway. Chop out a length of wood about this length. Not very thick. Now the fact that I'm making it thin is going to make it easier to get through these knots. But you're going to see what I'm going to use this for. It's the last step. So now I'm all covered in sawdust. That's a good thing. What we're going to do is take these thicker logs, and all we're going to do is have them once, just like those logs down there. And they'll be the ember logs, and I'll show you what that means. Alright, change of plans. So, we have this knife, and we have everything batoned here, down into quarters, some into halves. This I'm going to show you what to do with. Now, you might want to process those down even further, into quarters or eighths or even more. It's really all depends on how much time you have. I don't have a lot of time. I'm losing sunlight. So, oh, and also remember to keep the things you chop off from the log originally. This is going to be an important part of getting this thing going quickly. So, we're at that point. I'm going to show you what to do with this. I've halved it. I'm going to quarter it. I might put it into eighths, and I might even put it into sixteenths. I think I'm going to do that, actually. And then put these into eighths. And that should be good. And then I'm going to show you what to do with this. You put these down into 30 seconds, or even 64ths if you have to. Because that is going to be your kindling. But I don't know if I necessarily need to do that out here. So, I don't know. Let's see what we can do here. So one tip I can give you, once you start to get down into manageable sliver sizes, is take your knife and actually scrape the bark or cut the bark off of these. Because I have a theory that the bark is fire retardant, and that makes the fire a little harder to start and get going. And also, I think when the bark burns, it actually just smokes a lot, so it makes a really smoky fire. At least that's my opinion. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. So I wanted to show you another thing. When you get these things down to these wedges like this little pizza wedge here, it's actually easier to turn it on its side and split it that way, if you see what I mean. And then split this in half and keep going like that. And then, you know, you'll get some pretty fine tinder that way. But I just find it's a lot easier once you get to a certain pizza wedge. So remember this little short piece of wood I told you about at the very beginning? Well, what we're going to do is make our kindling out of that. And what we're going to do is cut it in half, and then in half, and half, and half, and half. And you want to try and get a lot of it to about this size until you got a decent little pile. It might seem tedious. It is the most tedious part of the job. But this is super easy to cut because it's so short. Even though it's knotty, you can see the knots in this. it doesn't even matter. Like, it's easy to do. It just takes a long time. And you want to build yourself up quite a nice little pile of these little matches, these little match kind of things. This size or a little smaller. It's labor intensive, but it works. Okay, now I think I've got a good enough basic pile going here. I just wanted to show you what you want to get. So out of this short punk, we made these little quarter pieces. We made these slices slightly bigger. A little pile of matchsticks in here. That'll be good. You got these little kindlings, a little bigger, a little bigger. Same thing over here. Pretty big logs, slightly smaller, you know, halves for the end of the fire. And you see what I'm doing here, obviously, is I'm building up from the smaller tinder. You gotta build a nice little ember bed under it, and then you can put the bigger logs on it, and it'll catch. So, now what I'm gonna do, now that that's pretty much all set up, is take these boughs, these little boughs, and I might chop a few off some of the trees here, because they make an excellent base. What I'll do is I'll fold them up and like kind of scrunch them on top and make that even a secondary base for the fire. And then once I get it all lit, I'll see if I can try and capture it on a photo. The very beginning of a fire is kind of frantic. You really got to baby it. So you can't be too, you can't dilly-dally around too much. But I'll show you what I mean here. All right, we're at stage 0. So the theory here is pretty simple. You can see I have some birch bark. You can get it from this tree here or just anywhere. Shred it up finely. You can't just use strips of birch bark. You gotta really shred it up. I find it makes it work a lot better. Now what I have is a little base there of twigs. I have mixed in the matches with birch bark to try and give it a little extra fuel, a little longevity. I built this little cabin structure, and my plan here is as this is going up, I'm going to start laying these across the top of the fire or over it, and I'm going to put a little more of this on it, and well, it's going to be fun to try and do this with one hand. So let's just get to it. Build a nice little warm cabin for this shit. A nice little warm cabin for your fire. Now you can just hold it over there a little. You don't want to smash it right down on top, but that should be fine, more or less. Oops, I forgot my little kindling down here. Now, feed it, for the love of the gods. Put shit on top like this, it loves this. This might have actually failed. Let's see. Might have failed it. See if it catches here. Might have done enough. Might not have done enough. It's really hard to tell in the early stages. You might think, oh, this is good, it's going. No. Trust me, this thing is far from started right now. Now we're going to go and get our little sticks. And I just like to pierce them right down in there. Oops. To begin with, this is going to be kind of not very well structured. It doesn't need to be too terribly structured in the beginning. I used to try and make a perfect little log cabin. I find it's a little obtuse now. It's not that necessary. Now we're starting to get a little more in the clear here. I have a little extra birch bark if I absolutely need to try again, but I think we're in the clear here. Could still fail. Now we're just going to monitor this thing and baby it and make sure it gets a little ember bed going. Now this stuff it's got its drawbacks because it can be pretty wet actually. And that can mean not so good of a fire, not so happy. See, we're going good now. We got a little ember bed. This is still far from, it could still totally die on us. Still totally die on us. Just feed the fucking thing. Feed her. All that hard work all the tedious hours of, you know, chopping this shit should start to pay off now. And you can give it a nice dry surface to catch onto. A lot of surface area is the key to the beginning of a fire. And we're starting to get a little bit of an ember bed here. I'll come back when the fire is a little more mature and lay on some more of these logs. And now you have this extra tinder, you can just throw it in. It's just bonus, it's just bonus material to help put it in the center of the cabin that we're gonna build and get that ember bed going so that eventually we can lie the big logs down on it. And then those burn nice and low and slow enough that you can basically cook shit on it. At least that's the theory. I've tried it out a few times, but we're gonna try it out today. So now I got a little ember bed going. You see I put some larger logs out. I just put it right on top of the ember and plunk the little cabin down on top of it. Two other things to help ensure the fire goes. I mean, at this point it's pretty well going, but you know, it could be a lot harder of a situation. It could be a lot smokier, it could be wet wood. Don't be afraid to give your cabin a little roof. I mean, you want to keep this core of heat reflecting down as much as possible, and also lean things up against the side of the cabin. All it does is it reflects heat back in and get that ember bed to a mature state where you can start to think about cooking on it.